Hi, Zizaran here with another video about Diablo 4, and today we're going to talk about the server slam and things that were fixed and are great now, and we're going to focus on a lot of the negatives and give some feedback on what I think can be improved before the actual launch of Diablo 4. So I've been having quite a lot of fun now with Diablo 4, and let's first talk about some really big positives. First off, the issue with left mouse button click is now completely fixed. Now, without using any third-party stuff, you can actually do move only and interact as in any other ARPG. Very, very happy. Diablo has been very behind the genre on this. So the fact that we have a fully functioning mouse button one is huge for me. Another thing that was really good was the loot drop rates. In the previous tests, the loot had all been like multiplied by 4 or 6 times, and even as early as like level 10 to 15, you would have multiple or even fully decked out on legendaries. Whereas now, even while farming for a bit, I only had a few legendaries, and each legendary was a lot more exciting to actually get, and I really love the new drop rates, or the proper drop rates, I should say. Even at level 18, I had 2 blue gear, and yeah, it was a lot harder. I do still wish the game had some crafting, things like upgrading rares, or sorry, upgrading blues or upgrading white items. I mean, that's something they could do as a crafting league later, but I feel like every drop matters a lot more. I do still wish the stats on the items mattered more early, but that's, you know, not the end of the world and will be a function of the late game. Now, I do want to dive into some of the really bad negatives that I hope and wish that will be fixed for launch, because I think they're pretty big issues and they're also very fixable issues. And I want to start off with the map overlay. This is a function that is being invented by Blizzard and has been in every single ARPG since, pretty much. And it's also been in every other Diablo except this one. And so I'm talking about this. As you can see in the background, we have like Diablo 1. Every other game has this. It's a simple overlay that like goes over what you see. They talked about it on one of the podcasts, and they're basically explaining exactly what's nice about it, why players want it, and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to have that. And the reason for that is that they feel like it breaks immersion. They want people to focus on the game. I think that's terrible, because it's very like you think you do but you don't, and I'm really starting to hate that companies are doing this more and more. The more choice you give players, the better, because the alternative now, I'm just spam opening the map and closing it. I'm like opening, closing. Oh, but this is way worse for immersion, way worse. I love having the overlay. Like, it's not like some sort of necessary evil that I feel I love having it. It makes me enjoy the game a lot more. The removal of choice there is very frustrating. Let me know what you guys think about that. That's the number one thing now that I hope they fix before launch. Previously was the mouse button one thing, which is fixed, so very happy about that. Another thing that would be really nice would be being able to enable a UI bar of your own character, like having health above your own character. As you can see here in Path of Exile, you can have like mana and life above your character in the middle of the screen. This is really great, and I like that. I couldn't find a way to do that in Diablo 4, and the reason this is nice is because it lets you like not take your eyes off the combat while you're fighting. You really want to keep eyes on your health at all times. Having to look away for your health bar, maybe you're gonna miss like evading a big attack. They surprisingly did a balance patch. I wasn't expecting that at all, because in my opinion, balance this early doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is going to be balance at the end game, and like Necromancer and Sork to some degree, but Sork was still very strong, but Necromancer got very nerfed. The minions were dying so much that they actually hotfixed it in the middle of the test and buffed the survivability and stuff like that of minions, because they were dying that much that I did see on Twitter that some of the devs were playing Necro and they were like, yeah, this definitely doesn't feel good, let's address this. So I was very surprised by that, but it's also not really balanced I was expecting, I guess, right? I did quite like it. I was playing Necro and I thought it felt fine. Obviously, I didn't play much else this test. I focused on Necro. But yeah, I did everything, including a Shava on Necro, and it felt great. I was playing solo in a party. It's obviously going to be even easier. The only thing that was hard was farming the level 30 area, which is something you wouldn't do in the full game anyway. That's like an early access thing only, because it's the only high-level zone we could farm. So yeah, I think it'll be fine. I enjoyed Necro even after the nerf. I didn't get any crazy legendaries and it still played pretty well. The only annoying thing was resummoning the minions every half a second. Now, another thing that's very frustrating for me in Diablo 4, this isn't objectively bad, I guess, it's just a different thing. But it's how unavoidable damage is. Other games have that you can sort of, just through good gameplay, dodge skills, whereas Diablo 4 puts a lot more focus on unavoidable auto attacks. I remember in one of my videos, people said, oh, this is a gear check, you're just supposed to outgear it. It's like, well, you can't really outgear things at level 3. So I was very surprised at like the crazy amounts of unavoidable auto attack hit damage early on, especially. And obviously, like, he is actually correct in a way. It is a gear check thing, which you will not have a problem with later. But, you know, it's just weird. I'm a big fan of like combat where you can actually dodge it just by knowing how the moves go. Whereas in Diablo 4, it is very like, you're hit. It's interesting because they have the same technology as Path of Exile, where the blade is where you see it. And they've sort of made it so that it's sticking to the character a little bit more and you can't dodge a lot of the basic auto attacks. That's not the end of the world because a lot of the like big moves, they are very telegraphed, they're very dodgeable. Like the goat jumping up in the air and slamming, that one-shots you on a lot of characters, but it's very, very easy to see. I would love to see auto attacks being a little bit more dodgeable just by like player skill, being able to run around a monster and not being hit. There are some you can do that on, but a lot will just hit you repeatedly. I do hope that they work on the stats on Diablo 4. It doesn't have to be super convoluted, but it is a little dull to me to get, for example, 100 attack power and my build is completely different. Everything is more better, right? It's not about upgrading my int and getting an extra 30 int, hitting any breakpoints or anything like that. It's just all about bigger number, go better. And yeah, I don't know. I'm so excited for the uniques because I hope and think that'll change a lot of it. We've seen a lot of cool uniques, Harlequin Quest coming back and things like that. Shaco. Very excited for those. Hopefully all the issues I have with stats are only an early game thing, but I am a bit worried about that. That's one of my main concerns is if itemization isn't fun, this won't be a fun game for me. And I do still think it has a little bit of an identity crisis. I've said that a lot, and to explain what I mean by that is they've said on podcasts and stuff that the skill tree is like, it's simple on purpose, right? They want it to be basic, easy to understand, and in Blizzard fashion, the game is aimed at casual players, right? But and they don't want the game to be Path of Exile, and I like that. I want every game to be different. But they have so many things. Like obviously, they have very unfriendly character respecs. They also have hardcore PvP. Now that's actually not that crazy as some are pointing out because it is on hardcore only. So obviously, casual players are already not really incentivized to play hardcore in the first place. But there's just some things in the game that are a little bit more like new player unfriendly, and a lot of people were complaining that the game was too difficult, and I actually see where they're coming from because I really like the difficulty, but I also really like difficult games. I play a lot of games on the hardest difficulty and I had a lot of fun, so maybe the fact that I was having fun with it was not necessarily a good thing. And we see a huge amount of posts on Diablo 4 Reddits about people saying the difficulty is insane and that it's catered to like the elite no-lifers and stuff, and they might be onto something. It is a little bit. So I don't know, it almost feels like there's like 2 or 3 different teams in the team, and some are trying to make it for a casual audience and some are trying to make it for a no-lifer audience. So I do feel like it's being pulled in a few directions. It'll be much more interesting to see how it turns out when we have the full picture, because right now we only have some early game stuff. So my expectation was that we would have Path of Exile for the super sweaty no-lifers like myself, Last Epoch is somewhere in the middle, and Diablo 4 for more casual players that maybe just want to come home from their 9-to-5 job and do some casual gaming and slash some monsters, right? Similar to like Vermintide, Darktide, you know, that just feels really good to just slaughter a bunch of monsters and not have to worry too much about using third-party tools to figure out your build and things like that. So I do wonder if that's what we're going to see. I hope so. I am definitely expecting and hoping Diablo 4 will be a bit of a more casual game, but we'll see how it turns out. Another thing that I wonder if it will be changed at launch is the music. It's right now a very big focus on ambience and like just background noise. I've been listening to the Darktide OST and I'm being like, oh my god, this music is single-handedly making the game 30% better. That's a 30% more multiplier. It's been so much nicer to have that, and especially when it lines up with the combat, like some really cool Darktide tune starts as I'm walking into a boss room. I'm like, yes. They have added some now music for boss fights and stuff, but the fact that most of it is so ambient makes me feel like I don't really want to like play it all the time, and I'm just gonna listen to my own stuff anyway. I do love when the game itself has like really cool music, but I've also seen a lot of people say positive things about that, and they love the ambience, like scary background music that Diablo 4 has. In the tests, there's also been some like loading jank and like, you know, just your rubber banding back and forth while standing on bridge, but hopefully that'll also be ironed out by launch. One thing I do really want to congratulate them on, the servers have been incredibly smooth. In all of the tests, I was honestly in the start, I was not expecting to be able to play until day 2, day 3, and I was saying that, wow, the early access buy to play early isn't actually that bad because we probably won't be able to play until day 3 or 4 anyway. This actually makes the early access thing a lot worse because it looks like you'll be able to play instantly, so you will just have a 4-day head start. And obviously nothing is more important than the first time you're playing, and season 1, 2, and potentially even 3 won't have a ladder anyway. You're just playing the game the same as on ladder with a 4-day early start. Oh, it's a bit crazy. I really hate that companies do this like you have to pay to play early thing. I'm very against it personally. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any feedback on things you enjoyed or didn't like of Diablo 4 that you hope to see fixed before the launch. Thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.